Today on Land Beat, we're talking about creating beds. And I'm not talking about creating bedding areas, we're talking about creating specific beds for deer to use. Now I want to emphasize, we're in western Oklahoma, so we're in a grassland ecosystem. We're not talking about creating specific beds in hardwood timber in southern Iowa. We're talking about beds in a grassland. So if you're in Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, this is parts of Texas, this is a specific topic for you. But you may be able to learn something and incorporate it in the Midwest as well. So we're talking about creating beds for deer to utilize next to eastern red cedars. So we've done previous Land Beat videos about this. And I know anybody who's been around the dotted cedar in a grassland ecosystem or even a grassy field knows deer oftentimes use cedars to bed next to. But if you notice, a lot of times they grow from the base all the way out. And a lot of times they're bedding next to them, but they're not really getting into them and utilizing them for better cover. So we've incorporated this on this ranch to create better bedding next to the cedar trees. And what we've done is remove a lot of the lower branches or debris and allow the deer to get next to these trees and utilize them, because what we've found is that 5 cedar trees may only mean 1 tree's utilized for bedding. So we're trying to utilize all 5 of them so we can house deer closer to the food plots, so we can have more daylight activity in those food plots because the deer are bedding closer because we've created the bedding. So it's a chain of management to create more tags being punched. And on this specific spot, this cedar is one of the biggest ones around. It had lots of lower branches. They were utilizing a portion of this cedar for bedding, but a lot of these lower branches didn't allow the deer to even move through here. They had to move around it. And we cut the lower branches, and it's kind of hard to see right now because of the angle in the sunshine, but a deer is now bedding exactly where we wanted them to because we removed all the debris right here on the tree, and now they can bed here. And if you look around, you'll see lots of rubs and scrapes around this tree. So we're looking at all that sign saying this is likely being utilized by a buck or a bachelor group on this part of the ranch, and which is awesome to know because there's a food plot not but 150 yards west of us. And so we've created this, and as you look around, there's other beds that have been utilized throughout the fall, throughout the summer. We know that deer don't just lay down in one spot all day. They move, they chase the sun. So in this part of the world, late summer is very stressful, so a deer is going to chase the sun to try to stay cool. They're laying on cool soil, they're laying in the shade, they're out of the wind. It's a great place to bed. So those beds we just showed you are going to be utilized because we're in a southern part of the U.S. It's a dry, arid climate. 9 to 10 months out of the year, back up on the north side of these cedars is favorable. But there's those 2 to 3 months where it's middle of the winter, it's cold, it's windy, where the south side of the cedars is going to be more favorable. But not just the south side out of the wind, in the sun, laying on insulated ground. And that's where we get into, we'll find a lot of these beds where they'll take a clump of grass and be laying on top of it. And it doesn't sound like a big deal, but when you take your bare hand and you feel the difference between here and the bare soil up under the cedar, it feels like 10 to 20 degrees difference. You can easily feel the difference. And so creating the same effect where we're cutting the trees and allowing the deer to get up in the cedar for a great wind block, but leaving the native grasses that they can lay down on but still be in the warmth of the sun, we're now creating year-round bedding in the same location. So we've got great bedding the 9-10 months out of the year on the north side and east side, but we also have great bedding on the south and west side for those 2 months, which could be the tail end of hunting season. So once again, we're talking a lot about diversity in plants for benefiting whitetails, but we're going to talk about diversity of bedding creation for year-round use. We're not but 30 yards away from the last cedar tree that we showed you that's got a lot of bedding activity around it. Now keep in mind, if you send the drone up, you're going to see lots of grass all around us. You're going to see a few dotted cedars. And these dotted cedars is where we found pretty good bedding activity last year, but we wanted to make it better. So don't let the enemy of great is good. It was pretty good last year, but we wanted to make it great. So we came in and we carved out these little cubby holes in the cedar, like I showed you over there. This is a smaller cedar where all we did was come in, cut a pie shape out of it, and knock the debris down so they could get up in the cedar. And in this spot, you can see the sand is all smashed down. They've been using this one a lot, and there's a big rub on the side. Does aren't making rubs as far as I know, so we know this is probably being utilized by a buck. And same thing with over there. So we're creating the same practices all the way across the ranch, but for whatever reason, bucks are using this clump more than some of our others based on the sign that's around them. If we're using anecdotal research here. But we've got a great bed, and all we did was just cut a few limbs, rake out the debris, and now it's like, bam, they're using it. Rather than last year when you come here, you'd see scattered beds, but no real rhyme or reason. Now we're creating a rhyme and a reason. Follow me right around here. Here's another one we created. And this one's even more secluded, even more of a cave-like effect. But when you get in there, you can see fresh tracks and actually see where the deer's knees, its front legs, were bent up underneath it during the bed, and they were placed right there. So you can see leg, and knee and back leg or back hooves in the sand where it then walked out of here. Really stinking cool to not, you know, we plant food plots, and it's cool to see deer come and eat the forage that we planted. It gets even more exciting when you create places for them to bed and they actually utilize them. It's like, okay, now we've created defined bedding right next to defined forage. Now we just need to have the buck use it, put a tag on him.